We're going to have a debate on the different positions that we have. So we're going to start by having Reverend Gongan give us a prayer, an opening prayer, and then we can commence right after that.
Let's rise and pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for your grace upon our lives, upon our community. I want to thank you again for the excellent things you are doing through your people, that as one community we will always advance, we will always progress, we will always stand together in good times and in hard times. You will give us the grace to overcome. We thank you, Lord, that even your wisdom be upon your candidates today, that all shall speak with one vision for the good of our people. Thank you, Lord, for the spirit of nobility, that no one shall take it as any personal thing, but for the good of our causes. We give you all the praise and all the glory for a harmonious debate, and may everything be unto your own glory. Thank you, Lord, even with you, we have overcome every challenge for the community, and we say that it is well with our community, it is well with the people, it is well with the leadership. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Gongan, for that wonderful prayer. Like he said, nobody should take it personally. It is for the good of our community. And I think that's why we are all here. We are going to start. We'd like to have all the candidates who are running for non-board positions. The president, candidate for the president, Mr. Robert Tamukong, you can move forward and pick a seat. Mr. Joy Kale, you can move forward and have a seat also. Madam Florence Joy. I think I saw Mr. Moki just coming. Mr. Gemto Emmanuel, you can have a seat also. I don't know if Mr. Stephen Gang is here, but so far he has not registered, so I don't think he's here. So the way we are planning to do this, we are going to have these candidates for the non-board position sit up front. You have water in front of you. It hasn't been opened, so it has not been spiked. I love this. Yeah, we're going to have you guys sit there. We have questions. If you remember, we had a question and answer session for on the MINCAM forum that the community should send us questions that we should add to what we need. But unfortunately, we did not get any questions from anybody. So we came up with the questions that we think everybody will appreciate. So we're going to ask those questions. And then after the questions, we're going to open the floor to the audience. If you have any comments or further questions to ask anybody, we're going to have you say that. And then before we start that, I'm going to have introduce everybody on the team, and then we're going to have a welcome address by our chairman. So this has been like a lot of work for us mentally. We're not able to meet physically to do any of this. So we had a lot of conference calls at all times, and again, we had the work done. But the leader of our team, Mr. Peter Akichek. You want to stand up? Yep. Okay. He's the chairman of the mayor committee, and he's been able to lead us through this successfully. And then we have Madam Ida Gia right here, and she was able to contribute successfully to this person. And we also have Mr. Aloysius right here, another member. And I myself, Rolindis Morford, also part of the team, and we have Madam Alice, who is not here today. So, you guys can sit down. Mr. Moki, please, we need you like right now. So just like you guys know, we had everybody, all the candidates are supposed to register $25 for us to get the drinks that we have over there, so feel free to drink. It's just to make this thing fun without putting any unnecessary burden on anyone. But so far, I want to thank all of you for your contribution. It's been very generous. It's been keeping our lips wet while we've been in here waiting for 3 hours for this to start. Anyway, I'll go further by introducing the candidates themselves and the different positions they are running for. I have right here Mr. Emmanuel Gemto, running for position of Public Relations Officer. You want to just wave so that they know who you are? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gemto. And then we have Mr. Robert Difotamukong, who was the president, or is still the president, and is running for another term. And then we have Madam Florence Joy, running for position of Secretary General. And she's wearing our new MINCAM outfit. Everyone should get one by the end of this day. And then we have Mr. Joy Kale, right here. And he has his campaign team somewhere. So thank you guys for coming. And oh God, Mr. Moki, we might have to fine you again if I have to call your name one more time. Okay, he's not here. So we now we'll have the Mayor President give us a welcome speech. Mr. Peter Akuche.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know we are starting late, so I'm not going to stand here and talk too much because we have exciting activity to follow. What I want to recognize here is that the MIAC team did a wonderful job, indeed. Despite all the difficulties, the timing, the work, and all the things that you do at home, they were able to create time to meet online with me to plan for all the elections, for election activities. And we promise you that it will be very transparent and very effective. That's the goal, and very fair of course. I know a lot of people have commented online about their various opinions, but we stand firm here that we are really an independent committee. So we follow the bylaws in what we do, and we read it very carefully to make sure that we are transparent and make sure that the elections is fair. This has been well organized, as Madam Rolindis is going to be our MC tonight. Specific questions are targeted for every position. So every position has its own kind of question. There's no general question for everybody. And we want to advise that as you stand up to make your debate, and the next candidate come up, we want to make sure that you don't repeat what someone has said already. We want your own creative ideas. So Mr. Alicia is going to be our timekeeper. He's going to shout you down if you continue to talk more than 5 minutes. So we want to keep it short and very brief and very precise. So don't feel embarrassed when we tell you it's time for you to stop. We have to control this. And again, you have to indeed be creative, have your own ideas on how you're going to help this community grow going forward. So after the general questions of debate, the public will be allowed to ask 1 or 2 questions. So Madam Ranger will control that and see whether you have one. If you have 1 question or 2, you can ask at that point. And it will be videotaped and put online for the rest of the community to listen to you. before the election day comes on Saturday. So they want to know what your vision is, how you're going to help the community grow, and why do you think that you're more capable to handle this position for the benefit of the community. So thank you very much for coming, and there's a lot to drink, and we'll have to order some soya for you, but once our time is over, the free drink is over, so you can buy from the from the kitchen. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your welcome speech. At least you gave all the instructions. All of us are very, very serious in what we are doing, and I know you are. And this is total volunteer time. So we know that you have the Cameroon community at heart to be able to come out here today to do this. And we want to thank you again immensely for your time, for your efforts, and every little ounce of energy in your body that you're going to put into this Cameroon community to make sure that it succeeds. So, Mr. Porter, right, Mr. Aloysius right here is going to be our timekeeper. The way we have the questions structured, again, Mr. Peters said that we have questions for every position for all of you guys sitting on the table. Each question has 3 parts, and you have 5 minutes to answer all 3 questions. It is not a test. It should come from you. You must know what you're applying for, and again, you chose to run for candidate, and it is something that should be in you that can just come out to support our community. Again, something that we're going to put online so that everybody will hear, and that way they know the candidates. You guys know, of course, the people can still campaign or positions up to the 24th? Tomorrow. Yeah, up to the 24th. So after this, I don't know if there's going to be more candidates or what's going to be, but we are just looking for the best of everything. So, are you guys ready?
Yeah. Been ready.
All right. You've been ready. I like that. Okay, so we're going to start. I think Mr. Architect, you're asking the first questions. All right. And, yeah.
All right. Our first question is going to the President.
Sorry about that. This is going to be in 2 parts. We're going to have these non-board positions going to be the first part of this. We're going to have a short recess, and then after this, we're going to have the board of directors come upstage, and then we're going to have questions for them after that. So when you're done, you become an audience, and you can definitely ask questions to the board of directors when it's your turn up here. And if you're a candidate sitting in the crowd also, running for position of board of director, feel free to ask questions when it comes to that time.
How many minutes do we have?
You have 5 minutes to answer your question, to respond to what you have.
All right.
Well, wait until you hear the questions.
All right, Mr. President. During your first term in office, you have recorded a huge success with the following: the acquisition of Cameroon Community Center, Cultural Week events, MINCAM Education Committee, just to mention a few. While you are seeking a second term of office, we want you to answer the following questions. Part A of the question. Please list to us 3 biggest challenges you currently face as a president. I repeat, please list 3 biggest challenges you are currently facing as a president. Number 2, or B part, explain how you intend to address or resolve each of the challenges you just mentioned above in your second term of office to ensure that MINCAM is successful. And the last part, what new ideas, brand new ideas, do you intend to bring to MINCAM in your second term?
You can start.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair
of the MINCAM Electoral Committee, MEC, members of the Independent Committee, current members of the Executive and the Board of Directors of MINCAM, my fellow Cameroonians here in Minnesota. It is my singular pleasure to stand here before you tonight, on this night of the vision of MINCAM moving forward, to address you on this debate night. I would like to start by introducing myself as being Robert Tamukong, and I have been the president of MINCAM in the last 3 years. And I am running for a second term as president of this providentially united community. I would like to answer your first question, which addresses the challenges that we have faced as a group, as a leadership team in the last 3 years. I would like to mention that when I ran for the president of this organization 3 years ago, I had addressed a 5-point manifesto that was, number one, to unite the community. Number two was to acquire a community center that was going to be a gathering place for Cameroonians here in Minnesota. Because after some independent studies in 2011, I realized that Cameroonians were spending over $120,000 a year renting space for events and for meetings. Number three priority was to work at doing a mentor-mentee program that was to orientate, especially the newcomers, in embracing careers that were going to be lucrative and profitable for them. Number four was to make MINCAM a sustainable organization. And number five, but not the least, was to count the number of Cameroonians that live in Minnesota. So across the board, over 3 years, I think we have achieved what we promised 3 years ago. The challenges over the 3 years, I would not say it's not been easy in 3 years. Number one, bringing Cameroonians together, knowing who we are. Today, the debate was supposed to start at 6 o'clock. I was here at 5:45, like I have always been, before I became president of MINCAM. That's number one challenge. If we can find a way to address that in this community moving forward, I think we would grow by leaps and bounds. That is something I'm still trying to grapple with. Living in the West and taking the mentality from Cameroon into this beautiful country. That's challenge number one. Challenge number two that I encountered over the 3 years being the president of MINCAM was to unite Cameroonians all together here in Minnesota. We're a very diverse community coming from that providentially blessed Cameroon, which is Africa in miniature. We have over 240 different tribes, and most of them are represented here in Minnesota. So bringing everybody on board, I would not say was an easy task, and it's still going to be a continuous effort to bring everybody on board. But at least in the last 3 years, we have succeeded so far in bringing the majority. And proof of that is in the acquisition of the community center, we were able to mobilize at least the recognized groups. We mobilized about 99% of those groups to contribute financially, morally, and otherwise to this mighty realization that Cameroonians have in Minnesota that has become an envy of not just groups in America, but across the diaspora. That's number one. Number two challenge. Number three challenge was management itself. Managing all these groups that are diverse was not very easy, and we will continue to work in order to leverage all the resources that we have in order to bring all these groups together and all the independent people. It should not be ignored that MINCAM is not just a consortium of organizations, but it's also an independent voice out there. So that has been a challenge to bring them on board. So moving forward, we would work and improve on that. I would rest my case at this point, and I would take up from there when I have the chance to talk next. Thank you very much.
That's very good. Thank you so much, but we're going to let you continue. We just want to let you know that 5 minutes is not too long. You've used 5 minutes and you're still on part A. There is still part B, number B, and part C.
So, Mr. Timekeeper, how many minutes have I used so far?
5 minutes, 23 seconds.
5 minutes, 23 seconds, and I promise to be brief. So how do I tackle these challenges? I will focus my administration in the next 3 years on what we call the pursuit of operational excellence. It means that we have built this community to a level that is already sustainable, and we just need to implement operational excellence in the structures that we have put in place to make things sustainable for this community. That's how I will approach, by involving more people, especially the minds that we need in this community for community building. That's how I intend to approach it. And the last part of my question was,
what new ideas do you intend to bring to MINCAM?
again, I talked about the operational excellence. The first part was to bring everybody together, and the second part was going to perfect on what we have done already. And we plan on making the community center a sustainable place for Cameroonians across the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So overall, you had 6 minutes, 27 seconds. Do you guys think you might one more time? No? Okay. So again, just to make sure we are on time, I know we have other activities here. You already introduced yourself, so if you can skip that part, it's going to help for you to get right to the question so that we can move on with this. The second question is going to be asked by Madam Ida.
Good evening, everybody. It's my privilege to be here at this debate, and I am asking the Vice President to be candidate, Mr. Kale. You are entering this position in MINCAM for the very first time. This is a dynamic position. It's a position that the Cameroonian community will be looking upon you to bring new and creative ideas to support the goals of the president, and to also be innovative in your own regard. List 3 of your own creative ideas, but in line with the goals of the president, that you will bring into this new position. Part B of the question is, please explain how you will implement each of these ideas and ensure they are successful. And part C is briefly outline why you believe you are the right person for this position, given the challenges that the organization is facing moving forward.
Well, greetings to everybody, and thank you for inviting us to this debate today. Let's start with the first part of the question. Again, my name is Joel Khaled, for those who didn't hear that. The first part was the three, why or how I would, the three ideas that I would have in supporting the president. Now, if you listen to the president speak, you know that he lays out a vision. And the job of the supporting cast is to carry out that vision. Now, there are some things that he keeps occupied with. Oh, before I say something, let me say that already we have a good working relationship. So that's number one. That said, he concentrates on things that other people miss or that he might miss. The first thing is finances. our finances are shaky. He did not tell you that, not because he doesn't know, but because for him, he knows that it's in capable hands. So if he will miss telling you that our finances are shaky, it'd be up to me to answer those questions. He knows. But our financial problems are being handled. He is not misspeaking. They are in good hands. The second thing is teamwork. Teamwork is something that requires that everybody is on the table. Again, I said something about the president putting me to sleep because when MINCAM was starting, I had ideas about how we move MINCAM forward. One of them was to make MINCAM so inclusive, nobody could tamper with it, with the inclusive nature of MINCAM. Well, he becomes president, and he does what I would have liked to do with the bylaws. So, of course, now MINCAM looks like I would have liked it to look, because it is thoroughly representative, because when he does appointments, he kind of looks down the field. So that's number two. I will help him do that. One of the other things is the idea of letting the community into MINCAM business. You all have seen some of the stuff being thrown out on the internet. Now, I'm one person. If I have to tell you something and you kill me after that, go ahead, but I will tell you. So I was at one of the campaign events and somebody asked, well, what, all the stuff that they're saying about our finances, yes, they're saying, that doesn't make it true. But if I was president, the person who wrote that mail asking what would have happened when we came for cleaning somebody, there was an old lady who said, well, they're going to sell the CCC. No, they're not. But there's that kind of news out there. Now, if I was president and I had the president's ear, which I will have, then of course those kinds of things I would ask him. And if that person would ask me what is going on with the CCC, it'd be up to me then to tell him. And he won't get a chance to go write rubbish on the oh, sorry for saying rubbish. But what other people are calling rubbish, I'm sorry. I know that's a personal friend, so I shouldn't say that. So he won't get a chance to write that. Because my job would to be the president's spokesman at all times. I will have his ear and I will know what to say. So he will not have a chance to write that. Because if he calls me, I'm going to tell him. I don't know how much more time I have.
1 minute.
1 minute. And the last part of the question about why I think I'm the best person to qualify for the yes. Now, I can tell you that in my statement on my campaign, I did say that if there was to be a father figure for MINCAM, that would be me. I didn't make a false claim, at least not in my head. But the idea is that I've been here since MINCAM started. We've fought the fights. I can tell you where the skeletons are buried. That's not news. Everybody, I think those of us who hang around each other, we know. So, I've supported every effort MINCAM has made. I sometimes will say things that are not right, but then I hang around. For me, there's always a center that holds in every organization. I am proud to be in that center, and no matter how we might fight, it's always a center that holds, and I want to be part of it in the next administration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Kale. Well said. I wish your campaign team were here to cheer you up. Okay, moving on here. The third question is going to be asked by Mr. Aloysius. Again, are you guys ready? Can we move on?
Yeah, sure.
And this question goes to the public relation officer. The public relation officer is a unique position with duties to promote MINCAM brand, establishing efficient communication, relaying and increasing MINCAM's fans and friends of diversified groups. This is a three-part question. This part one.
Describe at least 3 ways and strategies you will implement to unite Cameroonians in Minnesota, knowing that we are a large and diversified population. Part B, what strategies do you think you will put in place to build relations as well as partners with other cultures, social, economic, and political groups in Minnesota for the success of MINCAM? And part 3, why do you think you most qualify for this position?
We can repeat the question in the middle if you need us to.
Thank you so much for granting me this opportunity. My name is Mr. Gemto Wokam Emmanuel. Most of you guys don't know me, but you read a lot of my stuff on the forum. Well, without taking much time of which the MIAC had already did. So I am actually running for this position. I'm starting from the bottom to the top. I'm actually running for this position because I have actually measured my capabilities and skills. I understood how this organization is running, and I realized that you need more muscles in terms of the dynamics. I'm a little bit quite young as compared to the seats that you see, the people you see sitting here, which means something is lacking. That is one aspect that I believe will answer the first question, implementation. How would you go about implementing some of the programs and assisting with MINCAM's agenda to foster communication? Being young and dynamic, which means that we have been falling short of a group of people in the community, which is the young folks. You can look from the forum, people sitting there, you realize that it's the same as the people sitting in the executive. So, I mean, I represent probably the less represented people here. So in my young and dynamic capabilities, I will connect more with the younger folks. And secondly, taking into consideration my capability in terms of my education and skills, and people's skills, as I can say, I understand more about communication. And being as a public relations officer, I understand that it's not just about advertising a product in the short term. It's all about how you can analyze the facts of that product, which means the policy of an organization, how it benefits the people and the community in the long run, so that they can relate with what the community and the executive is trying to put out. So, my strategy first, to actually involve more dynamic youth and different groups in the community to be active participants in the MINCAM, would be first the fact that I will make sure I can articulate the agenda of the executive effectively on how they intend to implement some of the programs that the board of directors have actually put in place. And secondly, I will make sure that I put up a very good conveying message back to the executive in order to enable them to understand how the people actually perceive the agenda they are actually trying to drive to. Public relation, it actually implies somebody who can actually build bridges back and forward, which means you build a bridge between the executive, which is the administrative branch of an organization, with the community. And also you should also be capable to understand what the people actually understand about that. In most cases, we always understand concepts, but we don't really relate with most of those concepts. I believe my role as a public relations officer is how I can split down those pieces in that concept, in that idea, so that each and every person in the community who actually have the community at heart can actually see his or her own position in that agenda. That is all I'm actually looking forward to do. What I'm actually also looking as a newcomer in this team is the fact that I have to expand the scope of public relations, which means that I will not just limit my activities and responsibilities just to update the community about actions and activities that will be going on in the community, or programs that MINCAM is actually looking forward to do. No. If you can look keenly, I realize that when we go ahead in the forum talking about politics, which is administratively how MINCAM is being run, people putting up ideas, you realize that it's a group of people who always put up those ideas. And then, of recent, I realized that now we have a religious agenda or communication that is actually going on. I fell short of that. Not really because I'm not a Christian or I'm not actually in line with religion, but that is something that I fell short of. And one other thing that I realized that we can also do is to also get more other people engaged in other ideas and topics such as healthcare, which I believe our community is made up of a large chunk of people in the healthcare facility, in the healthcare sector. So my agenda is all about how to switch those communications so that we can always entice people to feel like they too can participate in the discussion on the forum. Because I understand that if people start to put up their ideas in the forum, that is the first step of engagement. You feel like you hold a moral responsibility to stand up to those ideas. The next thing I will actually look forward to do is to promote the vision of leadership, which means I will always consult with the leadership, which is the president, vice president, and all the other members of MINCAM, and make sure that I represent the face. I make sure that I represent the face and value of MINCAM in the public eyes. I will be the flag bearer of MINCAM, which is something that I believe the predecessor didn't actually do enough in that capacity. And that is where I actually look forward to start running my agenda in how to set for the future challenges to the next person who will be contending in this position. Do I still have some more time?
Actually, your time is up, 5 minutes, 41 seconds. But part B of the question talks about how will you put in place to build relationships as well as partner with other cultures in social, economic, and political groups in Minnesota for the success of MINCAM? Looking at other cultures, we are thinking about the American, the Jewish, Spanish, Mexican, or whatnot. You want to add anything else to that before, just give it like maybe 2 minutes?
Yeah. So, actually having a very dynamic society in terms of how the American public is being made of. I believe that I'm not limiting my strategy in terms of integrating MINCAM with other socio-cultural groups in America. I will also make sure that I will have to start building this relationship within the Cameroon community, which means I will have to understand, I already understand the limitations that people who are a little bit older than me are falling short of. I realize that most youth in Cameroon, in this Cameroon community, we have decided, or we find ourselves more comfortable supporting our forum in terms of sports and entertainment, which is something that, because of the age differentiation, it has actually limited the current administration to actually tap into that resource and enhance most of those youths in this capability to actually engage themselves into most of the activities that they are direly needed in MINCAM. Secondly, taking into the diverse nature of my working background, I'm actually one of the few Cameroon Americans, one of the 1%, being in the Minnesota National Guard as an Army, actually puts up MINCAM and Cameroon representation in the American Armed Force, which I'm very proud of, not just representing the US Army, but also representing Cameroon. That is one thing that I know it's easy for me to stand up to somebody and communicate MINCAM to that person, being on the fact that he will judge my credibility on the fact that I'm already a patron. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Well said. Being a young person, sitting up there like you said, I just want to hear you keep talking and talking and talking. I want to hear more about the National Guard, but we don't have much time. I think the next question will be asked by Madam Ida.
The next question is addressed to the Secretary General applicant. You've served MINCAM as the Public Relations Officer for the last 3 years, where you gained some experience and dealt with some challenging issues as well. Now you are applying for the position of Secretary General. These are 3 questions that we would like to hear you talk about. A, what qualities do you have for this role as Secretary General that will positively influence the activities of MINCAM? B, what challenges do you anticipate in this position of Secretary General? And C, how do you plan to resolve the challenges to foster the growth of MINCAM?
Good evening, everyone, and I want to use this opportunity to say thank you for coming out today to listen to us. For the past 3 years, I served MINCAM like the public relation officer, and today I'm standing in front of you to ask for your vote and to tell you what what my vision is for a new position. And that position is the Secretary General. I will start by apologizing to my supporters that I disappointed them by moving from VP to Secretary General, but I have a vision for it. The first question was the quality, is it the quality for this role? I have been Secretary General in the days of Congress, so women, those who know that group. And as my role as a Secretary General, I had a lot to do in terms of records. There is no organization that can prosper without records, especially records that entails the daily activities of the group, records that tells the people or sympathizers or supporters about what the organization is doing, what they have achieved, what they are planning to do, records that at the break of the day or the fall of the night, you can easily stretch your arm and get it and it is clear. That is that skill I'm trying to bring into MINCAM like the Secretary General. Your records will be on time. If an executive meeting is held and my president says, these minutes need to go out there to the public, it goes out immediately. We don't need to spend some time contemplating whether we need to edit or not, because the minutes are already edited when it's been taken. That is a special skill I have. And the challenges I had as the public relations officer, I would like to remind everybody that these positions or the executive as they are sitting here and the board members and those who have been working for MINCAM, they have been doing a voluntary job. That idea of volunteerism is new in our community. Sometimes I hear people say, they are doing that thing, do they think they don't gain from it? The reality is the commitment, the love for the community, and the unity, the peace, and the progress that we are looking forward, that we volunteer this time. And I, running for Secretary General, I volunteer more time to make sure that everything is being run as planned. Not only as planned, but recorded. If you get up from bed and you put up an email and ask a question that what did the executive discuss or what are they talking about a certain particular sensitive topic, make sure that the archives is there that I will have to send to you. For those who know me well, if you call me at any time midnight, ask about the name and phone number of a community member, I give it to you. That's just one thing that I've been doing like a pro. Now I will extend it to the Secretary General. And there have been, I talked about the problem of members of the community volunteering. Another problem has been that idea of how do we run our e-group? Members have complained that the mails are too much. They are jumping. They don't even pick up. They just delete. How do we make it in such a way that our community members have that interest in reading our mails? Our Secretary General tried, and he tried the level he tried, I would try a step forward to see how best we could handle that situation. I know Mr. President is always busy, and sometimes, although he is retired, he might have the time to go all over. I am ready to represent you, even out of Cameroon. If you send me to the ambassador now, I'm going to tell him that Cameroonians in Minnesota and the Secretary General is standing here in front of you in such a way that you need to respond to us now. That is that message, and is the now message. Now we are going to do it. Now everything planned, as the president said, will only follow and try to implement what the goals and vision we have for our community. I will end up by saying that the Secretary General will bring in peace, will bring in unity, and will bring in progress in our community forever.
Thank you so much, Madam Florence Joy. Like, you are rightfully representing MINCAM right now in your fabulous blue uniform. Again, get some on your way out. It's going to help us with our financial crisis that we have. And true, I believe that you're going to represent MINCAM to the ambassador, because she was in Cameroon and she looked for me and we're talking about this election. So I'm glad you showed up, but I thought you were going to be in the VP position. But anyway, wherever you are, we appreciate your time volunteering. The next, I also like to mention that the public relation officer, we had 2 people for that position, and right now we have just Mr. Emmanuel sitting here, and Mr. Stephen Gang is not here. That would have made it really interesting.
Sorry, I forgot to relay the message. He called me that he is stuck at work.
Okay. It would have been interesting to hear what he had to say, because we have the same questions for both of them. And the other position for Treasurer and Secretary General, or Financial Secretary, we have Mr. Lopez Guanula, who is not here. So the last question we have is for Mr. Moki, and I'll be asking that question for the position of Treasurer. One of the biggest frustrations within the Cameroonian community has been the lack of transparency with funds and the lack of financial accountability. That's what we heard. Best to your knowledge, what do you think is the cause of this problem? How are you going to resolve this issue and foster accountability with finances to the satisfaction of the Cameroonian community? And if you can list and explain your strategies on how you are going to raise funds to maintain and sustain the support of the Cameroonian Community Center to be viable. So the first question is, best to your knowledge, what do you think is the cause of this problem?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Velindis. Yeah, the problem we've been facing with the finances, I don't really think that it's a major problem. The thing is that most people don't go online and read what is put out by the executives. So I think that that is one of the problems. The other problem is that there are certain times in the community where finances, like from January till about June, there's nothing actually happening with MINCAM. So there's really no money passing in and out of the community. So that period that period, I don't see any reason putting out any statement out there if there are no activities happening. And I think that one of the issues I personally have putting out what do you call it, statements out there is that you have a lot of people who complain about stuff that actually they have not actually looked at the records that have been put out, but they want to complain about records not being put out. That is one of the first things. The second thing is that if every community member participates in MINCAM activities, then I think that putting out the statements on time will be very relevant for the community. I think that putting out the statements also online on our, not our e-group, but on our website, it's going to make a lot of sense so that people who subscribe to that website are going to have, subscribe to MINCAM are going to have access to the very relevant information about our finances, rather than the whole community, the community members who don't register for the association. There are no muchas, please. What was the second question, please?
How are you going to resolve this issue and foster accountability with finances to the satisfaction of the Cameroonian community?
I think that I will basically get the community to pay more attention to our community activities and programs that we're running. Be involved and engaged. Register when you have to register. Partake in things like the MINCAM insurances, so that if I don't put out information, then I can be lynched or whichever, impeached. Thank you very much. I can be impeached because I've not done my job.
Okay, you want the third question?
Yep.
List and explain your strategies on how you're going to raise funds to maintain and sustain and support the Cameroon Community Center to be viable. We are here to raise $20,000 tonight, so you can start by answering that one.
I guess everybody here trusts me when it comes to money. From January to March, we actually raised about $100 and something thousand. Dr. Chris and myself were out there every single weekend. I think that that is one of the ways that we're going to try to raise some more money for this community center. The other ways will be getting programs. I've talked to several people in our community who are already ready to volunteer for programs here, and I think that those programs are going to help us fund this particular building. We need after-school programs, adult programs, and social programs. If we want to talk about that too, you know, we need all those programs in order for us to be able to sustain this building. Without programs, I don't think that we'll be able to be paying for this building in the long term or even in the short term. But if we have those programs running in here, I think personally that we'll be having funds coming in here from companies, because we're going to be approaching every single company in Minnesota in order for us to be able to sustain this building.
Thank you very much. You had 5 minutes and 26 seconds. So we've come to the first part of the debate from the President, the Vice President, Public Relations Officer, Financial Secretary, Secretary General. I would like that the audience, if you have any questions or comments to make on anything that you heard tonight from any of the answers, you can ask them the questions right now. If you want your questions repeated to you, we can do that in less than a minute so that you can ask them any questions. So we have any takers on that?
I have a question for the Vice President. Vice President, and it's an important question. I've been debating with...
I know you're recording this stuff. Can you stand in front so that when they're watching it online, they can see you?
Oh, you mean I should stand in front of the camera?
turn it around.
It's not that necessary.
Yes, it is.
All right. I want to ask this question to the Vice President. And I've been debating with myself whether I should ask the question or not. But I've decided that I will ask because I think one of the things that we need to do in our community is be transparent. And so, Mr. Vice President, there was a document that circulated, and it circulated privately. And I want you to address it because when you are the Vice President, you are getting very close to a lot of power. So I want to have the Vice President articulate his vision about the unity of the community, meaning that, because there was a document that circulated where I think you thought that the presidency should be rotating within cultural groups and not elected by merit. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to address that so that we will be transparent to know where you stand and how you promote the unity of the community.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ambe, for asking the question. Now, you shouldn't say the document circulated as though it was done in a nefarious fashion. It was not. It is something that I've advocated since we started the organization from the get-go. If you look out into the community, we are a very, very diverse community. Now, when I spoke the first time, I said the current president kind of put me to sleep about this because he did what I envisioned for the community, because from his appointment to the things that he fights for and the way that he fights, he is very inclusive. So that kind of lulled me to sleep, but didn't remove the idea from my head. Now, I'm part of the committee set up to review the bylaws right now. We meet every week. There are 6, I think there are about 12 submissions to that committee about the changes to the bylaws. 4 of those submissions are about rotating the leadership of MINCAM. That way, again, the current president kind of makes me squeezy about this, because if we don't encapsulate this in our bylaws, the next guy or girl who becomes president might say, well, I don't like what he did, he does something else. And then the unity begins to crumble from there. The best way is to ensure the unity in the bylaws, build them into the bylaws. Now, I didn't say my idea was the best. And I just told you that I served in the review committee for the bylaws. So, in that committee, we are not just looking, in fact, we're not even looking at what I proposed. At least not yet. But we might not get to it because there are other ideas which are probably even better than mine about our unity. So, it is not a nefarious thing. It is not something that I espoused yesterday. In fact, from the get-go, if I had something to do with it, we would have started with that. Rotate leadership so that the community is always evenly represented in leadership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kale, for your response. Do we have any other questions or comments from any other person in the audience? You have a question?
Yeah.
For?
The Vice President.
Okay.
Well, I'm asking this question because I understand the position that I'm actually getting into. I made mention of the fact that I will be the flag bearer, the face of MINCAM as a public relations officer. Just trying to make sure that I understand clearly what I will be standing for defending in the eyes of others. So when you made mention of rotating, is it rotating from French to English or from? That is just that is the one thing I didn't understand about rotation. So I just want to be.
So, Mr. Kale, can you please clarify what you mean by
Yes,
rotating?
briefly. Again, my idea was to evenly split the community into regions that we come from. We in MINCAM, we are Cameroon in miniature. So of course, if leadership were to come from just one region, sometimes, as we have been led to believe, democracy can be its own worst enemy. If all of leadership would come from one area of the country, MINCAM looks bad. We don't want that. And I don't throw out rotation in a flimsy manner. The stuff that I have written up, I can present it to you in private. But again, mine is not even being looked at. There's other stuff that is even probably much better than I have. And again, we'll be bringing that to the community when it's ready. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any more questions from the audience? Comments?
Thank you very much. This idea of rotation is an intriguing idea. We live in a democracy.
Mr. Howard, can you step here
So that there's some, okay. I'd like to share a little bit then. We live in a democracy, and the idea of one person, one vote is the foundation of democracy. The idea of rotation, sort of in my mind is taking that value, that right away from me, because I'm trying to understand how the rotation would take place, and I will still be having my one vote, or you will still be having your one vote. It would need some clarification. I may just throw another question that I have. When we had the presentation of the blueprint here, I know we are having problems with finances, and part of it is energy. I threw this question out the last time we were gathered. Is MINCAM executive considering the idea of renewable energy to be part of our heating and cooling of the building? If they are not, or if they have not considered that, could somebody suggest it in the executive for that to be part of our energy strategy? That would be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Howard. Mr. President, do you want to address that? Do you want to say something about that briefly?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Howard, and thank you for your commitment to this organization and to the community. It speaks for itself. Just to address very briefly your concern about energy bills, I would like to reiterate that when we acquired this building, it was built in 1960. And the energy system that we have in here is that old. There is something called the 4-pipe energy system that serves this district, the energy district. It's called a 4-pipe system. And before that system came into place around this area, this building was already in existence with a 2-pipe system, which is incompatible with the new system that the energy district is using. Consequentially, we are using twice as much energy as we are supposed to use. So we are working with the Port Authority, which is the body, the St. Paul Port Authority is the body that oversees all the historic structures here in Minnesota. So we are working with them to convert the 2-pipe system out there, which would cost us about $120,000. And I am glad to report that the Port Authority at this point, as of last week, has agreed to sponsor that project, which would have cost us about $120,000 to convert that system from a 2-pipe system to a 4-pipe system that will be compatible to the energy district. In that light, during the winter months, and of course we know that during the has been the coldest winter that we have witnessed in many decades. We were experiencing exponential climb in our energy bill here, about $12,000 a month. But if we succeed at converting that system by November, by next winter, we should be able to cut down that cost to about $5,000 a month. So we are working with the Port Authority right now. In fact, there is a meeting with the leadership of MINCAM together with the Port Authority that is going to happen sometime next week so that we can discuss the terms. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that every building in Bandana Square right here is in the historic record of National Registry. And all the buildings here have benefited from that sponsorship from the Port Authority. And MINCAM should not be an exception. So we are working towards energy efficiency. Hitting a 57,000 square foot building, nobody would know that, nobody would have denied that is, even hitting your 4,000 square foot house during the winter, I was paying bills up to $4,000. We know that. How about a 57,000 square foot building that we have? So yes, we have plans in place in order to cut down on our energy cost, and hopefully by next winter, the Port Authority would help us transform this building into an energy efficient building. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you so much. That was very relevant information, and what I'm hearing is that if we can raise $20,000 tonight, we're going to have $120,000 free. So we should do something about that. But thank you so much. I think that was people benefited a lot from that response. Any other question?
Not a question. I want to share some light on something you just talked about. Good evening. My name is Dennis Tilong. I'm a member of the Board of Directors, and I represent the board at the Bylaws Review Committee. We are just talking about rotation for elective positions in MINCAM. You people should rest assured, this is something that we are going to address on its own when we get to the meeting next week. MINCAM is not representative of all Cameroonians. The catchment for MINCAM is Minnesota, Cameroonians in Minnesota. And we do not have Cameroonians from the whole geographical region, that's Cameroon as a whole, represented here. And that's one of the reasons why we normally talk about geographical spread, catchment, and federal character, or united character, what you may call it. So when we get next week to that meeting, there are certain things that are in the pipeline. We are working on them. And these are not things that we can, because I hear people coming up here with issues, they are raising them, and somebody might be discouraged, who will feel that people will be kept out. The Bylaw Review Committee gets those proposals, we bring them together, and then would have an opportunity to send them back to the community. You look at them, you are those who are going to make the decision. So nobody should be discouraged about our incoming Vice President expressing his opinion here. Everybody has that opportunity, and we are still open. If you have another suggestion, send it in. Even though people might tell you that it is closed, we are still open. We still have a date. We'll debate on those things before we vote.
Thank you, Mr. Dennis Tilong. And you know, Mr. Dennis Tilong is the Board of Director presently with MINCAM and going again for a second time. And I want to remind you that when we started, Pastor Gongang said, this is not personal, it is for the benefit of the Cameroonian community. So it's very important for everybody to remember that. Mr. Vice President, I did not know there was an article that is circulating, but now I know. But again, I have this to say. We were taking names of candidates, so people want to run for president and all other positions, and we had just like one name for so many positions. So whether you come from what culture, what region, please encourage people, male, female, young, old, to come and apply for those positions. And I think we are still open till the 24th. So Mrs. Florence Joy, I think this is a challenge coming up in your sector, Secretary General. We hope that I hope that the community as a whole will be able to get some of those insights as to what goes on in those meetings so that people will not feel frustrated about not knowing what is going on, and it will take care of some of the questions that we have. So any other questions? If not, we're going to take a short break and go to part 2 of our discussion.
Not a question for observation.
Okay, make it 1 minute.
Actually, it's not an observation, a comment. Yes, the idea of rotating stuff, I want to tell you an experience. For those of you who went through Economal, be it Yaoundé or Bamili, you will know that there had been that strive for regional rotation of student union president. And it was so heated, that some people even, there was a riot, some people even went to the hospital and it didn't come out good. And until I ran for the student union president in Bamili, won that election, went there, and brought in that peace and unity that I'm talking today, that I'm bringing to the community. Think twice if you are talking about rotation. We are for peace and unity. We are one. And like our brother Ben said, is we are vote to determine who is the leader. Be it a woman, a man, any region, who is the leader of MINCAM. Thank you.